The streets of Atlanta, once vibrant and alive, bustling with the energy of a thriving city, people went about their daily lives, children played in the parks, and families enjoyed the simple pleasures of community life. Now they echoed with fear. The once lively streets were now deserted, as if the city itself was holding its breath, waiting for the next tragedy to strike. A chilling silence fell over playgrounds. The laughter of children was replaced by an eerie stillness, the swings swaying in the wind, a haunting reminder of the innocence lost. Mothers clutched their children closer. Fearful eyes scanned the streets, every shadow a potential threat. The sense of security that once enveloped the community was shattered. A dark cloud hung heavy in the air, the stench of fear clinging to every corner. The atmosphere was thick with anxiety, as if the city itself was mourning. Between 1979 and 1981, a string of disappearances terrorized the city. Young black children vanished without a trace, leaving behind devastated families and a community in turmoil, swallowed whole by an unseen predator. The fear of the unknown gripped the city, as parents and children alike wondered who would be next. They were sons, daughters, friends. Each child had a story, a life full of potential, dreams that would never be realized. Their absence left a gaping wound in the heart of Atlanta. Families were torn apart, and the community was left to grapple with an overwhelming sense of loss. The city held its breath. Every new disappearance sent shockwaves through the community, deepening the collective fear and sorrow. The nightmare unfolded, claiming one innocent life after another. The police worked tirelessly, but the predator remained elusive, leaving behind a trail of heartbreak and despair. The victims, all tragically young, their lives cut short, their futures stolen. The community mourned each loss, the pain of their absence a constant reminder of the horror that had befallen them. Their faces, frozen in time, stared back from missing posters, each poster a plea for help, a desperate hope that someone, somewhere might have answers. Each disappearance sent shockwaves through the community. The sense of safety was eroded, replaced by a pervasive fear that touched every corner of the city. A palpable sense of dread settled upon Atlanta. The once vibrant city was now a place of shadows and whispers where every corner held a potential threat. Parents were paralyzed by an invisible threat. The fear of losing their children consumed them, as they tried to protect their families from an enemy they couldn't see. Nobody knew who would be next. The uncertainty was a constant torment, as the city of Atlanta lived in the shadow of an unseen predator. The first to vanish was Edward Hope Smith, a bright, playful 13-year-old full of dreams and aspirations. He was known for his infectious laughter and his love for baseball. His family described him as a beacon of light in their lives, always eager to help others and make friends. The community was shaken to its core when he disappeared without a trace. He disappeared on July 21, 1979. It was a hot summer day, and Edward had been playing outside with his friends. No one could have imagined that this ordinary day would end in such tragedy. The search for Edward began immediately, with neighbors, friends, and family scouring the area, but to no avail. Just 4 days later, another name was etched into this grim roll call: Alfred Evans, 12. Alfred was a quiet, thoughtful boy who loved reading and had a passion for science. His disappearance sent shockwaves through the community, amplifying the fear and uncertainty that had already begun to take hold. These early disappearances, while concerning, did not immediately suggest the nightmare that was to come. They sparked investigations, with police working tirelessly to find any clues. The community held vigils, hoping for the safe return of their beloved children. Yet, despite their efforts, the answers remained elusive. Yet, the city remained largely unaware of the danger lurking in its midst. The disappearances continued, casting a dark shadow over the vibrant streets of Atlanta. Parents began to keep a closer eye on their children, and the once carefree atmosphere was replaced with a sense of dread. The victims, almost exclusively young black boys, were often seen as easy targets. They were children with bright futures, whose lives were cut short by an unknown menace. Their families were left to grapple with the pain and confusion of their sudden loss. Their profiles bore striking similarities, often from disadvantaged backgrounds last seen in familiar surroundings, their disappearances shrouded in mystery. These children were loved and cherished, yet their stories were often overlooked by the broader society. A pattern began to emerge. The community started to see the connections, the similarities in the cases. it became clear that these were not isolated incidents but part of a larger, more sinister plot. Still, the authorities seemed frustratingly behind. Despite the mounting evidence, progress was slow. The families of the missing children felt abandoned, their pleas for help seemingly falling on deaf ears. The disappearances continued, each one a hammer blow to the city's fragile psyche. The community was left to mourn, to question, and to fear. The sense of safety that once defined their lives was shattered, replaced by an ever-present anxiety. The abyss seemed to grow deeper with each passing day, and the glimmer of hope began to fade. Fear thrives in the absence of answers. Whispers mutated into rumors, spreading like wildfire through the community. The once peaceful streets of Atlanta were now shrouded in an air of unease and suspicion. Every shadow seemed to hide a potential threat, every stranger a possible suspect. Theories, some plausible, others bordering on the absurd, ran rampant through the community. At community meetings, concerned faces gathered, sharing their fears and speculations. In dimly lit rooms, whispers grew louder, each person adding their own twist to the growing list of possibilities. Was it a satanic cult? A group of vigilantes taking justice into their own hands? Theories abounded, each more chilling than the last. Some believed in dark rituals being performed in abandoned buildings, while others thought a secret group was operating under the cover of night. Or perhaps a lone predator, stalking the city's most vulnerable. The image of a shadowy figure lurking in the background became a common nightmare. Parents watched their children with heightened vigilance, fearing the unseen eyes that might be watching from the shadows. The lack of concrete leads only fueled the flames of paranoia. Frustrated detectives worked tirelessly, their offices filled with photos of missing children and maps marked with potential clues. The community's anxiety grew with each passing day, as the hope for answers seemed to slip further away. The media, both local and national, descended upon Atlanta. Reporters with microphones crowded in front of police stations, news vans lined the streets, and journalists scribbled notes in the chaotic environment. The story of the disappearances became a national sensation, drawing attention from every corner of the country. The city became synonymous with the disappearances. Atlanta's landmarks, once symbols of pride, now stood as somber reminders of the ongoing mystery. Missing children posters adorned walls, a constant reminder of the lives disrupted and the families left in anguish. The national spotlight, while bringing much-needed attention, also amplified the fear. Families huddled in their living rooms, watching news broadcasts with bated breath, hoping for any new information. The constant media coverage kept the fear alive, making it impossible to escape the sense of dread. With each passing day, the pressure on law enforcement intensified. Stressed police officers gathered in briefing rooms, their faces etched with concern. They studied evidence boards, searching for connections, for anything that might lead to a breakthrough. The city waited, holding its breath for a break in the case. As dusk fell, people looked out of their windows anxiously, the empty streets below a stark contrast to the turmoil in their hearts. The collective hope for resolution hung heavy in the air, as Atlanta braced itself for what might come next. Atlanta in the late 1970s was a city grappling with change. The scars of the civil rights era were still raw. The city was a melting pot of progress and deeply ingrained racial tensions. The disappearances, occurring predominantly in impoverished black neighborhoods, exposed these fault lines. Many in the African American community felt ignored. They believed the police were not doing enough. The slow response only deepened the distrust. The disappearances became a chilling symbol of the systemic neglect and vulnerability experienced by many within their community. Section 5. The investigation, stumbling in the dark. The Atlanta Police Department found themselves outmatched. The investigation was sprawling, hampered by dead ends and the sheer scale of the disappearances. Leads dried up, witnesses proved elusive. The lack of progress fueled criticism. The FBI joined the investigation, bringing with them resources and expertise. The case, however, remained stubbornly opaque. The lack of a clear motive, the seemingly random nature of the disappearances, and the young age of the victims presented a daunting challenge. Section 6. Enter Wayne Williams, a turning point. On May 22, 1981, a turning point. Police staked out a bridge over the Chattahoochee River. They were drawn by a splash. A car, driven by 23-year-old Wayne Williams, was seen speeding away. 2 days later, the body of Nathaniel Cater, 27, was found downstream. He was one of the missing. Williams became the prime suspect. Fibers found on the bodies of several victims linked him to the crimes. The investigation focused intently on him. Was he the monster they had been hunting, or was he merely a convenient scapegoat? Section 7. A trial and its shadows, doubts, linger. The trial of Wayne Williams captivated the nation. He was tried for the murders of Cater and Jimmy Ray Payne, 21. The prosecution presented a compelling case, relying heavily on the fiber evidence and Williams's questionable behavior. On February 27, 1982, Williams was found guilty. He was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms. The city breathed a sigh of relief, but for many, doubts lingered. The case against Williams was largely circumstantial. He maintained his innocence. Section 8. Lingering questions, the unsolved and the unsettled. Despite Williams' conviction, the Atlanta child murders case remains shrouded in mystery. Officially, the case is closed. However, many believe Williams did not act alone. Some even believe he was innocent. The lack of a confession, the absence of DNA evidence, and the fact that the murders continued after his arrest left many questions unanswered. The Atlanta child murders continue to haunt the city. The case represents a dark chapter in American history. It is a stark reminder of the vulnerability of innocence. Section 9. Justice or compromise. The Atlanta child murders remembered. The Atlanta child murders remain an open wound. The scars of that time are etched deep within the city's soul. Wayne Williams remains behind bars. Did he act alone? Or was he part of something larger and more sinister? The truth, much like the memories of those lost, remains elusive. The Atlanta child murders serve as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary life. They are a testament to the enduring power of fear and the devastating impact of loss.